stores all of that water in its massive trunk that you see there. So for that nickname, the Tree of Life, it's not exactly what it looks like on the outside as to how it got its name. It's what's on the inside that counts.
Tree's
there.
Upside down.
And its other nickname is the Upside Down Tree, and that one's hopefully a little bit more obvious because it kind of looks exactly like that. Looks like someone planted it upside down. So we are going to make our way down the hill here, poli, which is Swahili for very slowly. Make sure we keep track of those Swahili words. There will be a slight test at the end of the safari, but you do have 2 whole weeks to study. So Hakuna Matata, which means no worries. Don't sound too excited back there, guys. I like that finishing of that sentence there. No worries for the rest of your days. Wonderful. Asante-san, thank you. And Caribou-san, you're welcome. Learn all kinds of Swahili out here. So first couple animals I see to your right, we do see those giraffe. They're pretty easy to find, but there's also some Ankole cattle that are kind of in the foreground here. Ankole cattle is the cows with the massive horns on top of their heads. You might have just heard it make a sound. But they're also known as Watusi cattle. They get that name from the Watusi tribe that originally domesticated them. They were not domesticated to be a source of food of any kind. Those beautiful animals are seen as a sign of wealth. So the more of those cattle they have, it's usually a good indicator of just how rich they are. And I know those horns look like they might be super duper heavy, but thankfully they are not one solid piece. They're not hollow either, because they still need to be pretty strong. They're made of a honeycomb-like structure on the inside, so that keeps them a little more lightweight than one might expect. And those horns also act as kind of like big AC units on top of their heads, because as blood flows through those horns, it does release any excess heat, so it's a good attempt to keep them nice and cool.
It's between Fayetteville and St. Crick. You talk about, this is nothing compared to the animals we've seen over there. It's like a refuge.
I do see some African wild dogs to your left. They're all resting towards the base of the tree there. Now, African wild dogs are also known as painted dogs. They get that name from the patchwork type pattern that's found on each of their coats. That is something that's unique to each individual. It's just like a fingerprint is unique to each and every one of us. Now, don't try to interact with these dogs like you would your own at home, because they are some of the most successful hunters here in Africa. About 60 to 70% of the time, they are successful. And that's mainly because they work together as a team to take down their prey. They also have incredible stamina, so they can pretty much just chase down whatever it is until it's exhausted. There are several different species of giraffe. The ones that I'm seeing up here, these are called Maasai giraffe. And when you hear that name Maasai, think messy. That's because they have very messy shaped patterns on their coats. Some of them look like maple leaves or ink blots, some of them even heart shaped. They are all each a little bit different, but that's kind of why the reticulated giraffe looks different, because the reticulated, that name kind of sounds like rectangle, and that's because they have boxy type patterns that have very distinct edges. So even from far away, it can be pretty easy to tell the difference between the two. There's also some sable antelope to your far left. Those are the brown antelope. They've got those long curved back horns. As we entered the reserve here today, there is one animal on our logo, and it's that sable antelope you see there. So these giraffe easily stand about 15 to 20 feet tall. Now, female giraffe, they actually give birth standing up, which means those beautiful babies, they drop about 6 feet to the ground from mom when they're first born. And if that's not enough of a hi, how do you do, welcome to the world, they also have to start walking within their first 30 minutes. Predators are not really going to take on a fully grown adult giraffe. They tend to have a very powerful, nasty kick. But the babies serve as a little bit of an easier target, so they need to get up and moving pretty much as soon as possible. A newborn giraffe are going to be about 6 feet tall when they are first born. They just get taller from there. So we see a couple of younger ones, not newborns, but pretty young ones there on your left. And no two coat patterns on giraffe. That's an Ankole cattle making noise there. Interrupting me. I've already talked about you. I'm sorry. But no two coat patterns on giraffe are the same. So that's one way that researchers can tell these individuals apart, and especially keep track of any family groups, which is really important population, aka babies that are super adorable. Now we see a lot of different animals here up ahead. Your first ones that you're going to see on your right, those are tiny little antelope called springbuck. They're tiny but mighty, so they can spring up to 6 feet into the air from a standstill. They can also spring forward up to 13 feet in a single bound. On the hillside there's a lot of gray colored animals that are laying down. Those are wildebeest. And just past those wildebeest, there's some that look a little different than them. Those are Patterson's eland. Now, it might be hard to tell from this angle, but the wildebeest that you see up there, they're all laying down, but they are all facing in different directions. And that's another great survival tactic here on the savannah. So if they're all looking over each other's backs, they're going to be a little bit more prepared just in case, I don't know, predator does sneak up on them. They also don't sleep all clustered together. They sleep a little bit more spread out. That makes it to where if they do need to get up and moving very quickly, they're not going to trample all over each other. So even sleeping on the savannah does take a lot of thought and kind of teamwork to help survive. I do see a pretty sizable broken down tree to your right. I'm going to guess we might be entering some elephant territory, because that's usually what they do. If they can't reach those leafy greens on top of a tree, they're just going to knock the whole thing over. I do see a couple of them down by the watering hole here. Male elephants are usually around 12,000 pounds. Females are slightly smaller, about 8,000 pounds. Males will usually be seen traveling alone or in small groups of other males. It's called a bachelor group. Now also, if you look on your left-hand side towards the base of the trees and the rocks, those are mandrills there. Mandrills are a species of monkey. The females are about 25 to 35 pounds, while males are almost 100 pounds. You got mandrills on your left, got elephants on your right. Now we have been tracking a herd of females in the area, so we're going to go on up ahead and see if we can maybe find the rest of them, because these look to be a couple of stragglers from that herd. Although it looks like the road we normally take to continue our journey is closed, which means we are going to have to make a slight detour up ahead here. Might add another day or two to our already 2-week-long journey, so we'll see what happens though. Oh, just as I feared, it looks like we do have to cross kind of a questionable looking bridge here. I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you guys want to do it? Yes, fearless, not me. If anybody has any extra pixie dust, go ahead and sprinkle it on the truck there. Make sure we have those happy thoughts all the way across. And if anybody is terrified of heights, don't look down. It's going to ruin those happy thoughts. If you don't really
look
want
down,
that,
YouTube.
Not in this critical moment.
Hopefully we survive
so it
this.
looks like we're going to be alright this time. Hopefully we don't have to come across any other bridges like that. Solid land is usually where we're safest, but that's not always a guarantee sometimes. I think I might have found some signs of more elephants. There are some gouge marks in the red clay to your right and left. Those are made by the elephant's tusks, and they will usually eat that red clay. It acts as a very tasty multivitamin. Now, a lot of soil throughout Africa and Asia is very mineral rich. Sadly, there is one in particular. It does contribute to a lot of habitat loss for these beautiful animals. It's something called coltan. You might be holding a little bit of coltan in your hand, or it's in your bag. It's found in a lot of electronic devices. So something you can do to make sure these beautiful habitats stay the way they are is make sure you recycle those devices whenever you're done using them. I know we hear that all the time, reduce, reuse, recycle, but it is super important, because when you recycle those electronic devices, they're going to take the coltan out and put it in another one, and that ensures that they don't have to go out and mine for more of it. So just by doing that one small thing, you can kind of make your own impact on preserving these beautiful habitats. Get a little bit closer to those wildebeest on your right. Wildebeest translated from Afrikaans, that literally means wild beast. And they usually travel in pretty large herds. About 1,000 individuals tend to be seen together. Some groups as small as 10, but 1,000 is a pretty high, good number though. We're going to check down by the watering hole here to see what we can find, see if we can find those elephants. No, we found another baobab tree though. On your left, those beautiful upside down trees. Now, if elephants can't find water anywhere else, they are going to utilize that tree of life, because they can puncture a hole in the side of that tree trunk with their tusks. So they can easily pull all the water out of that trunk that they do need. So it is a tree of life, but definitely for an elephant, it can be a real lifesaver. Looks like around the watering hole here there are some greater flamingos. They're on your left. They are the lightest color pink of all flamingo species. And you might notice some of them are resting and they are standing on one leg. That is something I don't have an answer for, I'll be honest. But to be fair, neither do scientists. There's been a lot of different hypotheses, theories throughout the years, but nothing really definitively proven. So just one of those great mysteries of nature.
Unsolvable, huh?
Looks like we actually found an elephant there to our left. Walking just next to the berm. Pretty close. Now we also found a couple of white rhinos up ahead here. This is known as a crash of rhinos. And white rhinos, they are a little bit larger than that black rhino we caught a glimpse of earlier. These guys here are about 4,000 to 5,000 pounds. Now, white rhinos, they got their name from a mistranslation. It was from the Afrikaans word vite, spelled W-I-T. Now that means wide or broad, and that refers to their upper lip. White rhinos have a wide set upper lip because they normally graze on flat surfaces. That is contrary to the black rhino we found earlier, because black rhinos have more of a pointed or a V-shaped upper lip. That's because they normally graze on trees and bushes, so having that different lip shape is going to be the best way to tell the difference between a black and a white rhino. It's not going to be that skin color, but if you can tell the difference in lip shape on a rhino, just keep in mind you are probably too close to one. And there are two subspecies of white rhino. There are northern and southern. The ones you guys see there on your left, those are southern white rhinos. Unfortunately, that northern subspecies, it has been declared what is known as functionally extinct. That's sadly because there are only two of them left, and they are two much older females. You might notice that rhino's approaching the mud wallow, and they love to roll around in the mud. It acts as a great little natural sunscreen, bug repellent. Also a pretty good way to just kind of cool off on a warmer day. I have heard that there might be some cheetahs in the area up ahead as well, so we should be on the lookout for those. They do run at about 60 miles per hour. Hate to break it to you, we only go about 8, maybe 9 if we're going downhill. I do see some cheetahs there on your left, a little bit harder to see, but look towards that slope there. That green slope, there is one that's laying down facing you guys, so you should be able to see that white belly.
Oh, yeah.
Another one looks like here to your left, going to be a little bit harder to see, but it's right next to a tree. A couple of them there actually, there's 2. Cheetahs can reach a top speed of 60 miles per hour within only 3 seconds. However, they are sprinters, they are not marathon runners, so they can't maintain that speed for long, usually just a few hundred yards. So if they don't catch whatever they are going after in that quick one burst of energy, they do have to wait and try again a little bit later. They have to wait for their whole body to recuperate after they use up all that energy so quickly. It can take about 20 minutes for all that to just kind of cool off, so they usually spend a lot of time just panting very hard after they've chased down a prey. Now we are approaching some coping rocks here, usually a great place to look out for predators, and I do think I actually see a male lion. He's on top of the rocks there to your left, in between those 2 rocks, right next to that really gangly looking tree. Thankfully, lions do spend about 16 to 20 hours a day sleeping or resting, but that is all to conserve energy for the hunt. They are usually nighttime hunters. Their day vision is pretty similar to ours, but it is their night vision that is very, very scary. It's about 6 times greater than our own. And lions usually travel in groups called prides, made up majority of females, those lionesses. Lionesses usually hunt in pairs or teams. While the male lion is going to stay behind, he is going to look after the cubs and the territory just to make sure nothing happens to those 2. to your left. She's on the edge of the rocks there. I'm going to try to get a little bit closer, but I already see a couple different animals to your right as well. There's an ostrich just kind of strutting it out there. And Bontebok, their species of antelope. We're hopefully going to get a little bit closer as we make our way around the Kopi Rocks. Powerful female lion there. I do see 2 females actually, so it is kind of a small pride. 2 females, 1 male. Prides can be made up of as many as 15 females and 1 male. But like we learned, it's because, well, they do the majority of the hunting. It's got to have a lot of them to help with that there.
Nice thing for long, huh?
I do see a couple of adorable warthogs to our left as well. Look up a little bit higher by me amongst those trees. They're all just kind of resting there. Now warthogs, they usually are, well, they are the largest burrowing animal, but like a lot of us, they do believe in working smarter, not harder, so they'll usually utilize the burrows made by other animals. So I see those Bontebok on our right, and ostrich as well. Now those are female ostriches, and those are their eggs that you see on your right. We know they're female ostriches because they have gray colored feathers. Males have jet black feathers. So it looks like they're keeping a close eye on those eggs.
Those
ostrich
are
eggs are very sizable items. They can weigh about the same as 2 dozen regular chicken eggs, almost 3 pounds apiece. They are also very strong. They can withstand the weight of 200 pounds on top of them. Looks like we're entering the Magadi Glen now. This is a fairly recent addition here to the reserve. Animals haven't quite started migrating through here consistently yet. It's possible we might have some great luck with this because I see something kind of on the other side of the hill there. It's kind of straight up ahead right now, but it's going to be on your left as we make this turn. That is a scimitar horned rex. This animal gets its name from the Middle Eastern scimitar sword that those long, beautiful horns resemble. This animal is native to the northern desert regions of Africa. The bad news is they did go extinct in the wild back in 2000, but the good news is thanks to a lot of
That's when I was born.
conservation efforts from zoological facilities, they were able to recuperate those numbers, and successful reintroductions started back in 2016. Their numbers are slowly growing, but any kind of growth for that scimitar out in the wild is great growth. Looks like it is getting kind of quiet up ahead, so I think our safari might be nearing its end. I do want to thank all of you for joining me out there today on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Now, the name Harambe in Swahili does mean to come together, and that is my hope with taking all of you out there, so that we can all come together to help protect those beautiful animals, because they face a lot of challenges out there. Pollution, poaching, habitat loss. Sadly, a lot of those are human-made problems, but that means they can easily at least get us fixed. One thing you can do to help, on top of reduce, reuse, recycle, really try to do that as much as you can. But also here in the park, if you happen to make your way into any of those merchandise locations, all I ask is that you round up
thank you for
whatever
watching
you're purchasing
this
to
part
the
2
nearest dollar.
with the most
Whatever that
part
is, that is gonna go
of the
towards
safari.
conservation.
Make sure to subscribe,
Disney covers all
hit
the
the bell,
overhead costs of your
give me a
donation,
like.
matches every single one, just to make sure every possible cent
This
is going
will
right
be
back
called
to the
Disney's
animals.
Animal Kingdom Safari Ride. Well, Omega 500 signing out.
The business of a few people, it is